Musicians like those in Gorilla Swing are often influenced by the work of generations before them. Willie Akins, a gifted jazz saxophonist and local legend who inspired and mentored colleagues young and old, died October 2nd. Over the years, the Nine Network has captured some of Akins' performances and his thoughts. We taped Akins most recently for the 2015 documentary, City of Music. This is an outtake from City of Music. The performance took place at the Sheldon in the fall of 2014. Willie Akins is jamming with Peter Martin on piano, Chris Thomas on bass, Montez Coleman on drums, and Eric Slaughter on guitar.
I remember one of the first jobs I got, the guy who hired me said I had to get rid of the other guy because he played the same thing every week. You can't do that on a study gig. People get tired of hearing the same old tune the same way. You got to maybe put that tune that you did last week at the end and do something different with it, you know. And then eventually you have to start doing new material.
That was never a problem for Akins, who for decades in St. Louis circles was widely considered the finest jazz musician this town ever produced.
My name's Dawn DeBlaze. I'm a jazz publicist, and I first started working with Willie in 2002 at the Old Webster Jazz and Blues Festival. And I was in awe because I knew everyone really thought very highly of him, and I introduced him to the stage where he would be performing, and that particular, if anyone is familiar with the Webster Jazz and Blues Festival, it backs up against the train tracks. And I remember watching him play, and sure enough, the train came barreling through on one of his tunes, and just like a great jazz musician, he started improvising and playing the A Train. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? You know, I mean, just a consummate professional, you know, and he just rolled with the punches. So, I mean, it just gave me goosebumps, and I thought, this he really knows his stuff. And he just had a beautiful sound, full body, very warm, just amazing, as anyone will tell you in St. Louis.
Some other guests here. Montez Coleman is here.
This was Akins' final appearance, September 4th, 2015, at the Kranzberg Arts Center. The jazz master was in failing health, had a history of heart disease, and was worried about mounting medical bills, so this show turned into a benefit. The event's organizer was on stage too.
My name is Joe Mancuso, and I'm a jazz singer. And I've performed with Willie Akins on and off for the last 4 years or so. I've known about him all my life, but just had the privilege to work with him recently. Studying jazz for the first time in my life at Webster, it was new to me. And I had a bunch of college buddies that would, at first, drag me out to see other jazz artists. And Willie was one of them. And after a while, I had to drag them because I really enjoyed I just enjoyed his performances, and there was always something different. He'd always bring somebody new in to play with him, and I remember going to the Moose Lounge in North St. Louis, the Barbary Coast, which I don't think is here anymore, but I followed Willie while I was in college studying jazz. Sharing the stage with him, not only a learning experience, but you really felt the support from him. Some horn players don't work well with singers, you know, and Willie was really good at supporting you as a vocalist. But when it was time for him to do his solo, then he became the focal point. And when it was time for the singer to come back, then he knew just how to add those fills in between the phrases. And there was never any type of a struggle with egos or anything like that. He was the consummate musician. He, as my advisor from Webster, Paul Demeritus, also would always, start a conversation about Willie with, he's the consummate musician, and he just always knew what to do, when to do it.
Willie Akins was 76. In 2004, Margie Newman profiled this outstanding artist.
At Spruill's on North Jefferson Avenue, Saturday nights draw a diverse crowd of jazz lovers. Young and old, black and white, what they share in common is that they are all here to listen to Willie Akins. Akins has been a fixture on the St. Louis jazz scene for decades. But years ago, Akins made the scene in New York City, at a time when jazz history was being written by legends like Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, and John Coltrane.
When I got to hear Train, I was down at the Fire Spot. It's on the Lower East Side. And he was that's when he had left Miles, or he was in between Miles and somebody else, And he was playing with Thelonious Monk. And I got a chance to see him, and I would go down there and it'd be just like Spruill's, it'd be jam-packed. I said, wow. I get off the subway, like coming this way, and jam-packed. One time I went down there and line around the corner.
Hearing greats like Coltrane inspired Akins to new heights in his own playing and taught him some valuable lessons.
You are in awe of how they can just have command of the instruments and stuff, and people are just focused. It makes you want to do the same thing, but it's, also you have to think about being yourself too.
We got a request to do Equinox. I think the brother just said he got out of the hospital, so we're gonna play this, the short version. We're not gonna get carried away, but we just might.
Akins might get carried away in his music, but he has been a stable and influential force in the local jazz scene. He was recently recognized by the Arts and Education Council for his work in keeping the jazz tradition alive as a teacher and a musician in St. Louis. But more than that, Akins has become sort of a one-man jazz university. He brings new talent to the fore and treats his audience to glimpses of future greatness.
You have to always be looking for new players if you're gonna stay out here. And the new players are better than the old ones, because old ones, it's just a thing where some of them want to still stay stuck in time. So you got to move on.
This young keyboardist is playing his last gig in St. Louis before heading on to the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston.
I met Lawrence Fields on a gig at the Chase. That's what did it. I heard him play, I just said, wow, Sometimes I play stuff that these kids don't even know the name of. They were not born when the tune was written. And like all youngsters, you gotta teach them what you're doing. I don't expect him to know the tunes I know, but all he has to do is have that ability, insight and understand chord changes and how to move and feel. That can be, taught on the job. That's what I call on-the-job training. You just let him work, and as he works, he see what he has to do.
Teaching these young musicians how to be themselves is Akins' way of writing jazz history, right here in St. Louis.
It makes you feel good to see that you were part of what I call history. Because what we did down there and what we're still doing is part of history.